Greetings, YouTube. I apologize if I sound a little stuffy today. I've been fighting a miserable cold. There is power in words and in names. Significant power. How we think of ourselves, how we think of others. The mental models that we have within ourselves are constructed around how we name things, how we refer to them, in a positive and a negative light. Today I'm going to link to a video that deals with a theme along this, which is very important to many Native Americans. And I recommend you go look at it before I continue, because it's kind of important to understand what I'm talking about if you'd like to continue this conversation. So go and check it out and come back to me, and then I will continue the discussion. Alright, I'll hopefully assume that you went and looked at the video. It was rather well done, and I thought it was rather powerful. And it addresses the appropriation of a term for Native Americans, which there is no way I can get around it. It's a racist term. It's always been a racist term. In my mind, it's no different than calling Italians wops or calling Asian people chinks, or, and I'm going to use the word, calling black people nigger. They're all racist terms that denigrate the people that the terms are applied to. It is saying that we only think of this person in this very surface way. Literally surface way. This is about their surface. Native Americans don't call themselves that. Some will call themselves Indian. They can. That's their choice. I don't, because I consider Native American to be a better description, and I'm not Native American, so I'm not going to make that call. I have zero Native American blood. I am purely European ancestry. My wife is purely European ancestry. In fact, she can trace her ancestry all the way back to Miles Standish, for real. Her family's been here for a really long time. But I do have some understanding of the Native American culture, both because I've read about it somewhat, particularly in its in the technology and they used and things. But also because at one point my wife was a member of a drum circle, so I got to hang out with Native Americans and participate in some of their activities. I went to a few powwows. I know the people who were in charge of the powwows, people that organized them. So I have some connection with Native American culture in the fact that at least I have an understanding of what they do and why they do it, things like that. At no time in all of the association I've had with Native Americans has any of them called themselves Redskins. Not once. There's a reason for this. It's a racist, insulting term. And the fact that we have professional sports teams in America that call themselves that is just stunning in the 21st century. I can understand, perhaps, 19th century, early 20th century, particularly before the Civil Rights Movement and before the Native Americans began to stand up and fight for themselves. I can kind of understand it. But we're in the 21st century. It's 2014. It's time to rename these groups. Let these sports teams use different titles. You can use them. It's not going to harm themselves to change their name. They're just a sports team. That's it. I've actually had people heard people say things here on the internet about how changing the name would be an affront to the tradition of the sports team. Like, as though this tradition of the Native Americans themselves, who have been on this continent for 15,000 years, is somehow less important than a bunch of grown men that play with an egg-shaped ball. Baffles me to no end. So I'd like to hear what people have to say about this. Do you think that these sports teams out there that have such titles should change them? Is it a burden upon the schools or the professional teams that need to do this? Do you feel that fans will adjust to it? And those that don't adjust to it, those that want to adhere to the term redskin or similar terms, Are they doing it because they have a loyalty to the sports team? Are they doing it because there's a subtle trace of racism in how they speak and the terms they use? Because like I said, words have power.